It's no secret, Vermont has a housing shortage. In fact, a recent assessment found Vermont needs between 24 and 36,000 new housing units by 2030. One question Vermont public has gotten a lot: can tiny houses help? The thinking here is that a smaller house costs less than a traditional house.
You've scaled down so much that the cost and the amount of time is going to be greatly reduced.
You've probably got this picture in your mind of what a tiny house is, but experts that we spoke to said it can mean a lot of different things.
There's no state definition of tiny home.
ADUs, or accessory dwelling units, sometimes called granny flats or in-law apartments, cargo ship homes. Sometimes they have wheels, sometimes they sit on a foundation. Representative Michelle Boslin recently introduced legislation in the Vermont State House to try to make it easier to build smaller homes.
A tiny house can fit into that by having an alternative for people who want to live in this modest, small, simple space.
A recent change in state law allows anyone to build an ADU on their property. But here's the thing. Unless you're prepared to live off the grid, most of us who are small home curious, we want things like septic, water, and electricity. And if your tiny home sits on a foundation, then it has to follow local building and zoning codes.
And it really doesn't matter if it's a 500 square foot home or 2,000 square foot home. You have to have some sort of approved septic design, and they have to be engineered stamped, and that's expensive.
That's thousands of dollars added to the cost. And to top it off, Representative Michelle Boslin says every town regulates these structures a little bit differently.
We need something consistent. It doesn't make sense that in some town up north, you can have a tiny house on wheels and there's no zoning whatsoever. And yet in another town, they say, oh, no, this needs to be zoned as a permanent dwelling, and you have to go through the whole application process.
So can tiny houses help Vermont's housing problem? They might be part of the solution, but just because they're small doesn't mean it's easy.